Emergency! Emergency! The airplane will sink. Hey help! Hey help! Emergency! Emergency! The airplane will sink. Emergency! Please help! Help please!
Hi. The last message the American Watchtower received from the commander of Flight 19 was on December 5, 1945, after which the connection was lost. The Flight of 19 was made up of 5 warplanes, all of them disappeared without families while flying on a training mission over the Bermuda Triangle and when the U.S. Navy sent rescue planes to search for them. There was a strange accident and one of the rescue planes rescuing the missing plane exploded in the air. A question disappears in the Bermuda Triangle and we start with the Bell reaction firsthand. The Bermuda Triangle is a place in the Atlantic Ocean that is a large body of water located between the Bermuda Islands, Florida and the Puerto Rico Islands. Since the area is bounded by 3 points, it was called a triangle. And since one of the points is the Bermuda Islands, so it is called the Bermuda Triangle, and the area of the triangle is enormous, reaching 1,025,000 square kilometers, and the number complex Dubai is larger than the area of Egypt. For example, the Bermuda region was famous because of articles and research published by authors and newspapers in which they talk about the danger of the place and the strange cases of disappearance that gets in both ships and airplanes. The story says that any time blocked from his critics, whether in the sea or even in the air, completely vanishes any presence at all. For example, in January, 1918, the USC Columbus sailed on its way to the port, and the voyage was supposed to be 3 days and the ship. But the ship, Shaw concluded, that more than 100 years awaiting the arrival of the USSC Columbus, the ship has completely disappeared, and it is strange that the ship did not send any distress call. It simply disappeared without a trace. And the American president then came out and said God and the ocean alone know where the ship disappeared. After that, the Bermuda Triangle began to devour a large number of ships, planes and submarines. And extended a new series of mysterious celebrations. Articles and newspapers began to talk about these disappearances. Frankly, the caliber increased the level of the world, and on top of them were the American news agencies, the Associated Press, and a magazine named after him, which was specialized in a number of accidents and strange phenomena. One face called Richard Weiner. He wrote a book entitled The Devil's Triangle, one face called Vince, and we write a book about Bermuda. And after him, Charles Hook, from a book and a great bling, and the media people started accidents with supernatural powers. What happens in the Triangle area is as follows. We ask the Bermuda Triangle with him underneath from the great city of Atlantis. Damn the brutal people, and a group of those with the throne of Satan is in Bermuda and the sea of anyone from there and a group that followed that both for his father, who was placed between the sun, the cause of the matter is the aliens and kidnapped people who fled from the Bermuda region and their hatred tortures them, and he is the face of ships and planes that pass from the place and a time ceiling for them for a second time. Of course, all the previous interpretations were completely rejected by the scientific community and avoided because it is simply science fiction, and for the people who ascribed the throne of Satan to the place there is no evidence in the Quran and the authentic Sunnah of speech. These interpretations have no basis in truth, striking true interpretations of any era that passes from a loophole and disappears. In fact, a group of researchers began conducting studies on the Bermuda mystery and eventually reached some logical explanations, and the first step in understanding the puzzle was that researchers discovered huge quantities of methane hydrates emitted from the ocean floor in very high concentrations in the region. Experiments have shown that a ship sinks completely because the gas mixes with water in a large proportion and with a density of metal, and a phenomenon called foamy water is carried on ships and ships sink without warning. Scientists from the University of Norway discovered a hole in the bottom of Bermuda caused by an explosion of liquefied gas and its diameter was about 500 meters. And they emphasized that a large explosion could be so huge that it reached high altitudes in the air and affected the movement of aircraft. The second point concerning the interpretation of the puzzle lies in tropical storms. Very strong storms occur in tropical waters and are abundant in the Bermuda region, and storms literally swing any ship originally in some doubts. The region has a magnetic field with the fastest movement of the onion on the behavior of devices, all of which are sufficient reasons that make the Bermuda region a very difficult area in maritime and air navigation. But I wonder, is the subject and love here? The American researcher Lawrence David Couch, the author of the book Solving the Bermuda Triangle Mystery, brought society's attention to a very important point related to the triangle, which is the media. Had it not been for the contradictions in the stories circulating among people, and the media and authors discovered a dialogue on the topic in an exaggerated way, for example the story of a contestant named Donald, he suddenly disappeared, and he later committed suicide due to some psychological problems. The authors linked Ronaldinho's disappearance to the Bermuda Triangle, even though all the evidence at the time was that Ronaldinho had committed suicide, far from the logic of Bermuda in a purely second place. It is more striking that the ship was transporting petroleum in the Pacific Ocean, the lineage of the Bermuda Triangle, which is originally located in the Atlantic Ocean. And the strangest thing of all was a ship sinking or disappearing in the triangle. The media, the well-knit storybook, was saying that the ship had disappeared at sea. And as long as the ship sank. David and a group of researchers did not date the days when the ships sank. With weather and Coast Guard experts, he discovered a strange need, very cruel, and the ocean was at the top of the ships and goblins, but the media is the focus of the matter and the falsity of the facts. For example, he happened with the story of the shipwreck. It's a science fiction story. The ship suddenly disappeared and reappeared, and all the people on it had completely disappeared, any dead trace on the chair relaxing. The Maritime Organization, such as pictures of the shipwreck and pictures of unidentified bodies on board, that exploded due to a malfunction in the fuel tank. Captain was neither he nor everything on the topic that the media. Let's move on to a little strange point. The U.S. Coast Guard and the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration say disappearances happen in the Bermuda Triangle, meaning accidents anywhere in the ocean. According to official statistics, the number of aircraft and ships lost in the Bermuda Triangle is equal to the number of aircraft and ships that are lost in most of the water bodies in the world. Well, the word means the media, books and films on the topic very, very, very much, but the media deliberately sheds light on the Bermuda Triangle. Let me tell you a new argument that you hear in other places on the face of the earth that is more terrifying than Bermuda, and many have known about it. I heard about the Sea of Mai, or as some call it, the Sea of Satan in the Japanese Pacific Ocean and 100 kilometers from the capital Tokyo, when he classified the largest disappearance incidents that occurred in history according to the statistics, 10 accidents, 6 of them occurred in the Sea of Satan. The American plane in '97 was going to the Tokyo airport and passed through the area, and it was on its 67 and one of the senior army men, and although the navigational conditions were very suitable for flying, the plane disappeared and it was between it and Tokyo 2 hours. In the year 1987, the automatic Carlotta vessel was preparing over the Sea of Satan and suddenly without any reason, although it was not carrying any flammable materials, and when the sailors tried to be part of the ship, they discovered that the fire began to burn in the aft part as well, and when they lost hope in delivering the ointment, he was surprised that the fire was extinguished without any intervention and the ship returned to the Philippines in peace and is present in the port in the event of natural disasters, and the climatic conditions in it are worse than the Bermuda Triangle and the accidents that occurred at the height of terror, and despite that most people and due to the media, stories and myths, bedtime stories like the Bermuda Triangle, the issue is all a matter of equal value. October. In the end, it says a normal area in the ocean, in addition to some bad luck, created by writers and authors, whether or most of them, in order to bring excitement to books, articles and films, their principle, accidents and details, the fate of more than sails. Imagine that we are working in the form of a demon to discover the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle, just a region with volatile climatic conditions in which it occurs in a large proportion that was the main reason for the spread of the myth of the triangle. I thought about the story of the flight. 19 aircraft named Martin Mariner had defects in the fuel tank, which is a very logical reason for the plane to explode. The Bermuda Triangle numbers dozens of ships and planes every day without any problems with a very normal surface shape. There is nothing every day that is all there is to it if not inattentive. Finally, it is nothing but a place where the fluctuating climatic conditions threaten the lives of people. Our answer to a question to him is that you will disappear in the Bermuda Triangle, and as usual, if you tell them your bewilderment, write here in the comments under the video on it in the next episodes and the video. If you like, do like, share and subscribe to the channel.